Hey guys, my name is Reverend Phoenix and this is Drawing the Human Figure from Your Mind, lesson 161. Okay, so now coming off that previous lesson of understanding the hands, we understood a lot about artistic thinking and developing those processes of thinking and looking at drawing the hand in three different ways. So here is where we're now going to finally reach that conclusion that Michelangelo is stating in his drawing, because he's trying to understand, okay, how, if I want to draw the figure from the mind, he needs to reach a state of bliss. Okay, and so we've already figured out that in order for us to now plan out our figures, all we have to do is really just think in these flow lines, and these are our own inventions here, right? We can come up with our own custom inventions. And here, when we do that, we also know that we just have to kind of slow down here, because if we start to speed up, we know that symbolism is going to interject and come in the way, and we're going to start struggling with the figure. And we already figured out that to get past that, we can use those tools, but there's really no point in struggling anymore, because we're now understanding to its deep roots how to reach that mastery state in drawing the figure. So here you can see I've just drawn a couple of lines here, and this is enough information for the mind to comprehend the idea of what you're drawing. And when I'm drawing this, I'm obviously thinking this through, right? So here, when we start to make the head here, so we're not, so in this, if we make any mistakes in this, just the laying out of the figure, right, we're not going to be interested in fixing it. We're just trying to get the figure down, get our ideas down, and in the other process of drawing, we'll start fixing any mistakes that could occur in drawing. So here, I've laid it out more in a basic shape sense here. And we also know those formulas here that we can put together to get that understanding of, okay, about how far should the shoulders be. And we can just invent them right on the fly here, just to help the mind understand this. So you can come up with your own ways of putting this together. So here I'm just drawing the arm over here, and I'm going to have the hand over here. And then we also understood that when it comes time to draw the hand, so it has to be part of that same system of drawing, but you can use a separate system together in comprehending, putting the ideas of the hand down. Right. So for here, we don't have to draw each little finger in cylinders. All we really have to do is just make a bunch of lines to, just make the fingers to what we want them to look like, and we can come back and start fixing this stuff here. And here's that thumb area over here that's going to be like this. Okay, so from here we can now just put in some basic ideas, basic shapes. We don't have to go crazy over the muscles right now. Just do and keep it as clean as possible in putting this together. And then we can just put this here, put this here, and we can over here make that hand in a much more dynamic form here, which is kind of like going like this. And this would be the palm area, and this gives us a good understanding of how this is going to work out, right? And here now we can just put in the chest area here, because we already know the width of the chest is going to be based on this anyways, right? So we're measuring down as we go along, right? So we don't have to stop and measure like this each time. We can just build it. It depends on what kind of action pose the figure will be in. And then we can just put this figure here just like this, and we're not going to do the legs here. That's what we're going to understand next. We're almost done with understanding the figure. Okay, so this gives us a pretty good figure in place here. So here I can just erase a little bit here to bring out the design of what we're trying to do here. And I'm keeping everything a little light over here. Here's where the elbow would be, then you would have your shoulder muscles and those muscles of the forearm. The bicep here, the shoulder. And really, we're not interested in fixing anything here. And this gives us very quickly a figure in place. So now we can put a second figure next to him, right? So in this process that we're doing here, we're letting the brain think in a processed thought that we just talked about when we were doing the hand here. So here we can make, let's say, another guy. So maybe they're having a conversation here. He's like standing behind him over here. So I'll do the same thing. It's like about his size. So here you see that we're repeating that same process, right? And because we're picking one system, a system of invention, a toolkit that allows us to put the figure on pretty rapidly and create good drawings fast. So I'll just put him on like this. And I guess for him, what we'll do for this guy is we'll make his hand come over here. And let's actually put his hand over here, right? And he's like maybe talking to him like this. We want to think this through here. And over here we'll make his hand go like this. Maybe he's stating something, right? And if you want to figure that out, obviously all you have to do is from here. Now this is where you could stop and use measurements, right? But we're still sticking to that same system of thinking. So from here we could just pretty much guess where everything is going to be here. So we'll make its chest over here. Around here, and his arm would be going up in this direction, let's say. So, and he's like pointing over here. We can have the thumb over here, and then you can make the fingers however you want to. So here we're just jotting a few lines down to create this. Right? So we've got two figures in place here, having a conversation, some kind of a composition. So next we can do actually a third figure right here, and let's make this guy standing, let's say right over here, and let's actually make him a little bigger, and this will give us an automatic perspective deal here, right? So we can have him looking a little bit up over here, and I guess he's on the side. We can make him on the side over here like this, and pretty much just put him over here. The side views are obviously very fast to create, no big deal in creating those guys. Okay, so let's make him like with his hand over here, and he's like thinking, right? So what the conversation is going to be over here, and that's about it. And let's put his other arm over here, like so. So it's like folded and it goes around his chest. We're going to get a little bit of the back muscles. Okay, so that gives us a pretty good idea here as to the composition here. Three figures having a conversation, right? And in this process that we went through, we were able to successfully get our figures on paper by following that same system. We followed that process. So if we now started deviating from this process of drawing the figures, right? So if we wanted to draw another figure and we went, very fast and making all these lines all over the place, this is where symbolism is going to interject and the mind is automatically going to start to struggle. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do now is just to fix this up, all you have to do is just lightly erase and start drawing away the features of the face. Usually that's what I usually just start. And here I'll just put in some lines here, and I'll start out with the eyes, make them in here like this. Now think about the angle of the face. What do I want to do with it? And here's where we get into that, we put a few lines here just to get these basic ideas across. Right? And this involves a system of its own, where you're just putting in lines. You don't have to correct anything right now. Put these in, get that idea in, and then start to make it in a much more real way here. Okay, and then here's that finished drawing. So here I've done this drawing in 3 different ways. So here's a much more fully rendered figure. So this is taking starting from those same flow lines and basic shapes and completing it. And this is more of a sketchy finish on a figure. And here I have left this figure be so to let you see that from those lines and those basic shapes that we did, then we put on those muscles and in those phases of drawing, and then I would come back and start to put in all the details, start erasing and fixing anything up that I need to get this whole drawing completed. And this gives you that ability to obviously draw the figure, reproduce the figure, and draw them in compositions. So here we can now begin to finally understand this conclusion that Michelangelo reached. And it's so profound, meaning that he figured out what it meant to draw from bliss, right? Because that's what we're trying to get to draw the figure in any pose we want, in any dynamic way we needed to get to, and knowing that there is no way that the mind is ever going to struggle to draw the figure, because we have too many powerful tools invested in the brain, from the skeleton structure to the muscles to the proportions. And knowing this, the mind automatically assumes that it's not going to mess up anyways, right? So it helps us to just put the figure out and draw with bliss, knowing that we are going to fix it anyways, regardless of that fact. So here in that theory, Michelangelo is stating that because of this understanding of artistic thinking is possible, this is what allows you to draw from bliss, because bliss means that this is where the definition, I guess, in this theory of artistic thinking is that when you draw from bliss, it's like you can dream of anything you want to draw without any problems. And that's exactly the state we've reached, because we invested in all these understandings of the human figure. But this understanding is so simple, but to get to it we had to go through this process of drawing that we've been going through in understanding the figure to reach it to this point. So this will now allow us to now go ahead and complete this figure, where we're now going to learn the muscles of the legs and the foot, and we'll have a whole the invention of the figure in our mind, and we'll be able to draw it in any way we want to and learn about its movements, its motions, and draw it in foreshortening perspective. Everything will be just very, very easy to draw. So I hope you join me for that. Thanks.